My name is Rohini Paranjpe Sathe, and I am the AMP's Author of the Month for June.
staying sane through this period of quarantine, really through the entire period of the pandemic, which is more than a year really, requires work. It requires work from each and every one of us, because it has been relentless. I mean, the stories of gloom and of doom that have been abounding around has been the spate of them, literally. And I don't think anybody has really been spared the impact of the pandemic, so to speak. It's those who have got infected with COVID, they have suffered physically. There has been loss of life. There has also been economic hardship for those who could not protect their livelihoods. But those who were spared, or those who did not have to go through these physical and economic challenges, even for them, the pandemic has been hard to endure. The break in human connects, isolating away from other people, the break in physical contact, and the ensuing loneliness. It's not easy to deal with on an everyday basis, and hunkering down in your own homes, in your own workspaces, inside your home. It's all very well, but when there is no end in sight to it, it could drive us to acute despair. It has driven several of us to acute despair. But having said that, I think we as humans are fairly resilient. We are resilient by nature. We're programmed to survive. And whatever the challenges that might be thrown at us, we try our level best to overcome those challenges and to get through them. And similarly with me, I mean, I do a few things to retain my sanity. I personally get very affected by stories of loss and of suffering. I'm very susceptible to them. It's not that I don't get impacted by stories, or I don't get encouraged by stories of hope and courage and of humans stepping up to help each other in these difficult times. I do find those stories very reassuring. But unfortunately, the stories of loss, of grief, of pain and suffering, they stay with me that much longer. And there are days in which I feel I can't cope with so much of angst and so much of misery, and on those days I just quietly withdraw. I disengage. I stop watching the news feed. I stop looking at the stories that the internet has been throwing up at me, or I stop looking at or listening to stories that people I know are recounting to me. I just completely withdraw. I disengage. I switch off. I switch myself off from this atmosphere of gloom. I need to do that, relocate my calm, regroup myself, so that it might take a day, a couple of days, whatever, so that when I go back, I can face the world again and look at what has happened in the meantime, and then digest that grimness and darkness all over again. I feel capable of being able to do it all over again. Apart from that, I think on an everyday basis, get up and do your work. I do my work. Whatever I need to do for work, for my leisure time activities, I just go through it on an everyday basis, like almost mechanically at times. I mean, it's something that I can't possibly be 100% focused all the time. I can't be 100% productive or creative at every moment, but that's how it is. I mean, the times are unusual, and accordingly I've dialed down the expectations from myself. I've also dialed down the intensity of emotions that I might be, as far as possible, I've tried to dial that down, that the emotions that I might be undergoing and experiencing, and just breathe. Take each day as it comes. I mean, I've sort of followed that as a mantra. And I think most of us have done that to a smaller or larger extent. What has helped me particularly as a singer is, of course, music itself. I mean, like, music is a known stress buster. It's People have their go-to songs in their playlist, and the songs that they would listen to feel comforted again, or that might energize them again, or lift up their mood, elevate their spirit. And so also for me. But as a singer, I find it is that much more powerful, because I do it every day. I wake up in the morning and I start my tanpura, I start my riyaz, I do my omkar, go down to my kharja. I do it religiously, and it is such a calming effect. The rag that I might be singing, it has the capacity to absorb all the stress, anxiety, tension, worry, fear, etc. that I might be feeling. And it just takes away all of the negativity in me. It absorbs it. It sucks it all out from me. And it fills me up with its own emotions. Every rag has at its core an emotional persona. And so what happens is that all the emotional turbulence that I might be undergoing, it just gets washed away by the emotions of the rag themselves, and I feel as if I'm sort of cleansed of whatever I might have been going through. And there are rags which are calming, which might soothe frayed nerves, which might ease off anxiety. There are rags where the dominant note is one of pathos, in fact, and but it doesn't. Even that kind of a rag can also be helpful, because there is pathos in me, there's pathos that I've got from the world outside, etc. But all I do is to take that pathos and pour it into the rag, into the notes that I'm singing, and then that becomes the pathos of the rag itself. It ceases to be mine, and I am that much happier for it. It's like the old famous line that said that you take your broken heart and you make it into art. It's like that. At the end of the day, having sung that rag, sung whatever, even if it's an alap or a note or whatever, it is a step in creativity. It is energizing, it is empowering, it is uplifting, and I have been doing it every single day, especially through this pandemic. And it has music is powerful, it is therapeutic, it is healing, and I have discovered it. I found it very helpful, immensely helpful. The last thing that I would mention in this respect is, of course, and I think I would prescribe for everyone, is a modicum of physical activity. In terms of physical fitness, taking care of your health, physical training or fitness or whatever it is that you need to do, because if you do that on a daily basis, you get your happy hormones going, the endorphins get released, you feel whatever kind of a day you might be having, the moment you've done your workout, or you've done your you've seen through your commitment to physical fitness, you feel that much more mentally strong or capable of dealing with whatever stress you might be having. And I think religiously, on an everyday basis, I have followed these few things, and I have been able to survive the pandemic in a very happy way. I don't think my definition of mental health would be anything different from what most other people would, how other people would define it. It's my state of well-being, emotionally and mentally. My ability to cope with all that life throws at me via people or events or circumstances is also all that is endogenously churning within me. I mean, I need to be at peace with it all, whether I am at peace with it all or not, whether I'm capable of dealing with it or not. I think that would be that would be a measure of my mental health. There are and there always will be triggers of stress, causes of frustration, of disappointment, anger, or as also reasons to celebrate, causes of joy, of satisfaction, euphoria even. How I go through all of that, how I experience all of that, and how I protect myself through all of that is at the crux, I feel. First of all, I need to be aware of what I am feeling. I need to also be aware of my responses to triggers. If I'm unhappy, I need to be able to admit that I am unhappy, or frustrated, or if I need help, I need to be able to find a safe place to take help from, or a safe person to take help from. I need to understand how a cause of stress or a trigger of stress is affecting me, whether I'm obsessing over it, brooding over it, getting unnecessarily carried away, or I'm suffering loss of sleep, or it's gnawing at my peace of mind, or whatever. I need to be alive to that. I need to be aware of that. And if I can't change the stressor, so to speak, I need to be able to respond to it in a way that ensures my composure, my sense of calm, my equanimity. That is the key. That for me is my mental health. Engaging in enough mental health care for myself? Yes, I think I do. I am pretty alive as to how I'm feeling every day, every moment actually. Not just physically, but also mentally and emotionally, whether I am on an even keel or not, if something is troubling me. I need to fix that. I need to be okay with what I'm doing, not doing, how I am, not am, etc. I need to. I have an inherent dislike for unresolved issues, basically, and I'm always working to sort of either fix those issues or then to wrap my mind around them in such a way that I can be okay with the fact that they are going to stay in limbo that way. But that is something that I think I do on a conscious basis every day. At the stage I am at now, I mean the age that I am at now, I mean, like, I've been through like most of us have gone through of my generation. Most of us have gone through that many stages of life, that many phases also, and each stage or phase has come with its own challenges, its own issues, and we've gone through our ups and downs, so to speak. I have gone through mood swings. I have changing vulnerabilities. There have at times been issues of regarding my issues of self-doubt, issues of self-esteem sometimes. Sometimes a withdrawal of interest, a loss of interest, a kind of a detachment or changing attachments. There's so many things that I have been through. And sometimes these issues come together, sometimes separately, and I've tried to deal with them or cope with them the best I could. Sharing, if it is a particularly thorny, upsetting issue, sharing it with a friend, somebody I can trust, or somebody I can feel safe with, talking about the problem. Sometimes just venting it helps clarify the issue for me, brings things into focus, what exactly is troubling me, and I understand myself better, I understand the problem better, I understand myself better. Everything becomes a little clearer, and I can find a way to get about it. I think I do that regularly. What I would like to specifically mention here is that I'm fortunate to have a member of my family, my niece in fact, who is a mental health professional. She's a qualified counsellor, and even though I might not consult her formally or officially, there have been over the years several instances where I have spoken to her, and she has helped me get through some issues. I mean, like it's just the questions that she asks sometimes, or the perspectives that she puts things into. It's a different way of looking at things, and if I can't change a circumstance, I adapt my response to it. There have been, therefore, alterations in responses. There have been, again, in perspective, and that has helped. And I think I do that pretty regularly, and I think I would advise everybody to do that. The mental rigors that are implicit in the work of writing, or that come with the territory of being author, I think would come essentially from the subject of what is being written. So for me, as a fiction writer, as a storyteller, it would come from the story itself, the subject of the story. There are certain professional requirements, therefore, that first of all I need to research the material thoroughly. I need to verify it properly. I need my plot has to be logically and carefully constructed. The people that inhabit my story, I should conceive them with enough detail, infuse them with emotions and thoughts and sentiments and all of that. Check the physical settings, the time, the place, the cultural and social ethos, etc. So that is work that one, as a fiction writer, would normally do. For me particularly, the stories that I tell are about ordinary individuals, ordinary human beings, and the emotional flux that they undergo. So there is a lot of interpersonal relationship that is being explored here. See, my fundamental premise is that all stories happen because of human intent. Human wants, human desires, aspirations, etc. are the initial catalysts or the initial triggers of that story to happen. We are driven by our wants, our desires, maybe our lust, our greed, or we are committed or attached to somebody. We want to defend them, protect them. It could be a person, it could be a place, it could be an idea, or something of that sort. So then when we step out as to fulfill our wants or to realize our aspirations, our actions then impinge on other people. They impact other people and they in turn react. And therefore these are the stories, the chain of actions and reactions that are set into motion are everyday stories that are happening. I mean, even the circumstances that we assume are beyond our control are wrought through human intent elsewhere. I mean, humans that we are not familiar with, an intent which is unfathomable to us. So even if it is, like the next market disturbance, or it could be a next technological advance, or a new fashion trend, or something of that sort, it is, we think it is beyond us, but it is because of somebody else's curiosity or passion for excellence, or somebody's greed, or somebody's competitive spirit, or something of that sort, which is driving these things to happen. And then we react, isn't it? We act to protect ourselves, to fulfill our wants, and we also react to what the others around us are doing. And it's all very fascinating for me. The way I see it, I could sort of hypothetically assume that there is an emotional equilibrium. There is a disturbance, that equilibrium gets dislodged, and the people who are involved in that scenario are therefore working to regain their equilibrium. So the whole thing starts unraveling. People move, people try to do whatever they need to do to arrive at another equilibrium, which might have resolved the initial disturbance, or then that disturbance has been absorbed in the new status quo. So the way it all moves and how it unravels and how people respond and react, it forms the essence of what I write, and I find it extremely fascinating. So, and for that, what I have to do is therefore examine all my characters under a really powerful microscope, to understand what is their orientation, what are their motivations, what are their dominant emotions, why they think the particular way in which they think, why is this their language, why is the element of softness or harshness or whatever it is. I not only understand it, I not only examine and understand these characters, to be able to impart a degree of authenticity to the stories I write, I need to immerse myself in these characters. I need to be in sync with them completely. So I feel their pain, their anguish, their joy, their contentment, their anger, their jealousy, whatever. So I have to experience all of that to be able to write about it authentically. One of the important things that an important care that I need to take while writing as an author is to not judge the character. Not, for example, if somebody is being driven by excessive ambition, I should what is excessive, first of all, is open to debate. But if something is, for example, or somebody, there is hubris, or there is exceptional greed or avarice or whatever, I'm not going to judge that person myself. I will just try to explain that emotion, explain why that person is acting the way he or she does. Not going to condemn them. Examine the fallout of his or her actions. So whosoever is suffering from, is a victim of that greed or avarice or whatever, I am not going to play a sympathy card in their favor either. See, the disgust you might feel to a negative emotion, or the sympathy for a person that you might feel is suffering, is that call is for the reader to make. It is for the reader to make according to his or her own emotional or mental compass or moral compass. So it's not that I succeed every time in being objective, because we are also we also have our own emotional and moral compasses, and we write from that perspective. So, but I try as far as possible to be to put it as it is. The thing about immersing yourself in your characters has its own fallout for me as a writer, as a person, as a human being myself, because going through that kind of emotional upheaval that a character goes through is very taxing. Feeling happy and feeling satisfied and feeling at peace, etc., is good. But going through what the characters experience can be taxing. So when you experience there is an empathy, there is a human empathy in all of us, which connects us to what other people are undergoing emotionally, what they're experiencing emotionally, and we can understand them, the place they're in, the kind of feelings that they are struggling through. That ongoing empathy that connects me to my imagined characters, it takes its toll on me as well, because I am going through that pain, that anguish, that sorrow, that suffering, etc. And it is tiring. It can be exhausting. It can be draining. So there is a reward. First of all, empathy can be empowering also, because you get to understand other people that much better. You can understand what they're going through, and you begin to realize exactly what it is to be in somebody else's shoes. But there is also the pain that is involved, that when you're assuming somebody else's vulnerabilities, there is your shoulders also tend to sag that much more. I mean, figuratively speaking. But there is, as they say, no pain, no gain. But that is how it is, and if it all depends on the story I'm writing, the complexity of emotions that is handled in that, and if it's a short story, sometimes I can come out of it that much sooner. The state of being immersed in somebody else's emotions. If it is a complex novel, as for example the last novel that I wrote, Being Good Enough, if there is too much of there are some issues of violence, or of powerlessness, or drawing on your last reservoirs of resilience, so to speak, it can become quite. It is very demanding, and it can be very tiring. But that is how it is. That is the author's responsibility, and his or her own, the mantle that we wear as writers, that we assume our characters' responsibilities and we live their lives. don't think I have to juggle at all. I mean, there's not that much that I do. I write and I sing. There are people out there who who play multiple roles, and I admire them. They are the real jugglers. I really admire them. Their ability to shoulder so many responsibilities, and the multiple roles that they assume, they multitask or compartmentalize as the need may be, and go through the stress and the anxiety which comes with each of these separate responsibilities. I really admire them. As I said, I write and I sing. Writing, in fact, came to me at a much later stage in life, and it was at a time when, because of a medical problem, I could not sit down to sing for any reasonable stretch of time, and there was this vacuum within me, therefore, and there's a kind of restlessness that came about, and writing sort of helped me cope with that restlessness, and practically speaking, it was something that I could do. I could write for 10 minutes at a time, and then maybe write 10 minutes later or something of that sort. So it's something that I could do on a piecemeal basis. When that medical problem got resolved and I could resume my riyaz and my singing, I was happy to go back to my music. But I continued writing. It's not something that I had to make time for or something of that sort. It just happened very organically and very seamlessly. I did not have to sort of consciously say that no, I will divide my day accordingly, and I will divide my energies accordingly, or my attention accordingly. It just came naturally to me. The thing that actually helps, the thing that helps is that they're not entirely unconnected. Both are ultimately forms of art, and both have at their core a well of emotion. When I'm singing a rag, or when I'm singing a khayal or a bandish or an alap in a rag, I'm not just being faithful to the constructs of the rag, or the following technically the aro, avro, etc., and those patterns, etc. No, it's not just that I'm following. It is, I am trying to be as faithful to the emotional persona of the rag. Through my voice, I am trying to tell the story of that rag, the kind of personality it is. When I'm writing, I am assuming the emotions of the person that is propelling that story through, and I am trying to think, see, feel from her eyes and from her mind, and so it is that it is there's a common thread between these two, and that goes through the well of emotionality, the core of emotionality, which connects the two arts. So it's just that. I mean, like, I've often said this, that notes are to music what words are to writing. So, and they're both mediums of expressing emotions in a creative way. I would like the stigma associated with visiting or taking help for mental health. I would like the stigma for that associated with that to disappear entirely. I think mental health has to be treated on par with physical health. I mean, access to mental health professionals should be as free. One should be as uninhibited in visiting a counselor as one is in going to a GP, for example. And I think this has to be, I would love to talk about it. I would take every opportunity I got to be able to talk about it, write about it, and bring that kind of awareness to people that it is an essential part of our holistic well-being. I think this habit has to be encouraged from a very early stage in life, from childhood onwards. In fact, I would suggest that children should be encouraged to share whatever that they're going through. There should be a safe place where they can recount whatever it is that is troubling them. There are so many instances I know of childhood trauma, of abuse, or maybe repression, or feelings of inadequacy or powerlessness, or of shame even. And I think if these, if children were given an opportunity to be able to share all of that, to unburden themselves, so to speak, without being judged for that, I think they would be able to sort out these issues and feel sorted themselves, so that when they grow up to be adults, they can grow up to be healthier. And, instead of carrying those scars from their childhood onwards into their lives, and then that's a kind of a toxicity which we let linger on and affect all that they do later on in life. Instead of that, if that can get addressed at the stage where it's happening, and, they can be that much happier and healthier and more fulfilled in their lives later on. I think that's why I think this habit of being able to seek and take help as and when required should be inculcated and should be encouraged right from childhood onwards. The other thing that I would like to do as an author is write about several misconceptions that we have. Socially there's a lot that is that sort of plays unfavorably when it comes to taking care of one's own emotional and mental health. The first misconception is that indulging in one's emotions, or prioritizing mental health, etc., is a very frivolous thing, which is really, basically, it's wrong. I mean, there was a line I read, I came across some time ago, that indulging in your emotions is like consuming empty calories. I mean, because they're non-nutritive, there is nothing that we gained from that. Showing your emotional vulnerabilities is a sign of weakness, or the strong human being does not, and strength is to be admired. Strong human being does not expose his or her vulnerabilities and bottles up their emotions. We laugh when we are happy, or we cry when we are sad, and I think both emotions and expressions also of them are valid and normal, natural. To curb oneself from feeling that and expressing that, I think it's a relic of the caveman days, where being vulnerable was you're vulnerable, you get hunted. You either hunt or you were hunted. So I think it goes back to then, and you have to be strong at every time. And haven't we evolved? Haven't we come to an acceptance that actually emotional health, if we are fine physically and mentally and emotionally fit, we are that much more happy, and we're that much more capable and productive and sociable as well. If we curb all of that, we become danger of becoming warped or repressed personalities, which could, we ourselves are, we suffer personally from that, and we could also become problematic socially speaking. So I think I would love to write or take every opportunity I got to be able to encourage people to take help from a counselor, a psychologist, a qualified expert, a professional really. You might be having problems at the workplace and the relationships that you have with colleagues, with your boss, problems with relationships within the family or with friends in the neighborhood, etc. One should be able to address those problems, sort them out as and when they occur, so that you don't carry that excess baggage later on and get burdened by it. So I would love to do that, and I would love to also question all our sacred givens, the societal conditioning that we are subjected to, that we have to fit into a certain box or fit into a certain paradigm of living, and barring a few moral and ethical guidelines of that enable us to live compatibly and productively with each other and as a society. I think each of us should be left to be as unique as we possibly are, and there should be no judgment of that. I would love to bring that out in every opportunity I got to write or to speak or to discuss. Or it's really important. It's really important. Bringing awareness about mental health to people, I think I am at every opportunity that I get, I think I do it consciously, because it's an important issue. It's an important factor of our lives, and it helps us to live, being, feeling physically, mentally, and emotionally well is at the source of living happier, more fulfilling lives, sorted out lives. When I'm writing about the stories that I write, also there are so many issues that that come spontaneously to me, and I talk about them as I go, and I write about them as I go. Apart from that, even otherwise, when people I meet and whatever the issues that they might be struggling through, and give them a year, let them give them that sounding board that they might need to help them address their issues, and also help them understand that there is no substitute for professional help. For a person who can, first of all, understand your problem, present it to you better, help you strategize how to deal with that problem or that issue, or your, to help you cope with that better. There is no substitute for professional help, and there are many people that I know from the medical fraternity. I mean, like doctors, excellent doctors, and I'm awed by their expertise and their knowledge and in treating human bodies. But when it comes to the psyche of the patient, I think very often they flounder. It is, I think addressing that, also taking care of that, helps the patient so much in his or her recovery. And just a nudge from the doctor to visit a mental health professional as and when the need may arise a nudge from that doctor could help that patient also along in his life and help them heal better and lead better lives. I'm convinced of it, and I think I do it pretty often. I do encourage people to take help. What am I looking out for in the submissions? Well, a few things. First of all, what is the core idea of the story or the article? What is at its at the heart of it? What is the central theme being explored? I mean, and first of all, is it appealing or engaging enough? Does it arouse my curiosity enough or not? The idea could be anything. It could be a full-fledged story with events and characters and personalities, etc. Or it could just be a simple idea. It could even be just a defining of a mood and the change in that, inflection of that, etc. Or it could be just a kind of an upliftment, an easing of an initial burden, for example. Whatever it is, it needs to engage me. The second thing would be, how has that idea been treated? So if it is a narrative, then the structure of the narrative comes into play. How has the plot been crafted? Is it logical? Has it been logically conceived? The people who are the dominant players in the story, then have they been fleshed out enough? Are the interactions viable or not? I need to be convinced about all of that. I need to be convinced about all of that. The next thing, of course, would be, it's a work of art. So I need to see the identity of the artist, the flair of the artist, the stamp of the writer, his or her own choice of expression. I mean, like we write according to how what we have read before. We are inspired by the people that what we have read and what we've admired before. But we also write according to our own artistic temperament. I want to see that. Your original identity as a writer. I would love for that to stand out. And of course, whatever is written, it should give me something of value. It should leave me with something to think about, to reflect over. I mean, it could be a question that has been asked, or a nudge for me to see things differently, or to understand things differently, or a new possibility of a new interpretation of things has been thrown up. That sort of convinces the reader that what he or she has read just now has been worth their while. Yeah.